TheCinemaRanger here, and this seemed like a really good location to talk about the Lighthouse. I got a chance to see that film the other day. I was pretty eager to see it as a fan of The Witch. I was excited to see what Robert Eggers could do with a sophomore effort. This film did not disappoint. It's a different kind of movie, certainly a different tone, driven by different energies, but it works in the end. And I think it's enigmatic enough for me to want to sink my teeth into it. And even though there are some very mysterious edits and shots, I do think the film offers enough. It spills its beans, as it were, and gives us enough to work with. The place to start in interpreting that movie is the lighthouse itself. A lighthouse is sort of an icon of isolation. These single buildings, they sit on rocky, desolate shores, and they have a very lonely presence. But at the same time, I think a lighthouse is in some ways a beacon of hope. It's something that people search for in the dark or the fog as a way to guide them through stormy weather. And that's kind of the direction I would go with interpreting that film. That Robert Pattinson's character, Tommy, there's two Toms, we'll call him Tommy, he's running from something. He saw a friend of his die, and I think he even wanted that friend to die, and at times entertained the idea of killing this person, Ephraim. And there's a lot of guilt and shame and responsibility he bears for that act, and rather than sort of face up to it or deal with it or adjust to that, he has sought isolation. He has sought to flee from the world. The lighthouse is this place he's going to, trying to get out of the storm of his life, and as is the case with places we dream to go, the actual reaching of it turns out to be something of a nightmare or disaster. When we dream about salvation, it's best left as a dream. I think the other Tom character, you know, he sort of plays the mythic guardian type role. He's there to stop Tommy from getting there, to possess it. There's kind of almost like a god withholding knowledge kind of mentality there. There's a jealous lover motifs that are played out in older Tom character. But if we're gonna do this whole psychoanalysis symbolism thing, then I think he's the part of Tommy's brain or Tommy's experience that is trying to prevent him from reaching his goals simply to protect him, in a sense, because it's almost as if he knows that to touch the beacon of hope is to lose the hope, which is kind of what we see in this film. When we dream of salvation, then in many cases I think salvation is best left as a dream, because once we get there, we find that it's not what we were hoping for or what we needed. There's other sort of symbols that play out in the film. The gulls are like the souls of the lost. They're directly alluded to as being that idea. And I think it's interesting that at one point Tommy finds a gull in the water, needing help. And just like when he watched his friend drown, Tommy does nothing. He just watches the bird suffer, and then he grabs another bird and beats it to death. And he's left with those tormented feelings again. The idea that the two of them are sort of the same character is hinted at in a couple of ways. They share the name, Tom. And then at one point, the older Tom, Willem Dafoe, goes on this little monologue where he talks about the idea that maybe this whole thing is just a figment of Tommy's imagination, that he's still out in the woods. He's sort of fleeing from this guilty act he did and trying to find a place of solace, and that the lighthouse ends up sort of representing that escape. Of course, the problem with isolating oneself is, especially a physical isolation, that also comes with the burden of the things you left behind. And typical of Eggers' other film, The Witch, this is a film that is a sort of no-holds-barred, aggressive look at the primal, irresistible nature of sex. The further Tommy gets away from the world he left behind, the more nagging his sexual desires become. They haunt him, and I think that's the role of the mermaid character. She's like this monstrously desirable thing. She's both alluring and horrific at the same time. This thing that pulls him, as sex does, but being isolated, something he can't actually have, he's really more haunted and tormented by it rather than pleased by it. You know, you can kind of look at the storm like his guilt attacking him. The worse his guilt becomes, the more he realizes that either A, he's not going to get to that beacon of light that he wants to reach, or that in fleeing to this island, he has not really escaped the guilt and ghosts that are tormenting him, the more the storm rages. As if to say that we cannot flee from the things that are destroying us. We have to face them front on. Tommy's biggest mistake, his critical flaw, and the reason that he is being consumed by the souls of the lost at the end by that gull, is because in trying to run from his guilt, his torment, his torture, he has failed. He has failed to get away from it. You cannot escape these things. Isolation eats at us, it devours us, and the storm will keep building. And Tommy's tragic failure is that he never figures that out, and he is stuck on that island eaten away by his loss. I do like downer films, I guess. Anyway, I hope my interpretation is sound. It's probably one of many when it's all said and done with this film. It's got a lot of different ways to look at it, I suspect, possibly even biblical or religious symbolisms. And with any luck, mine is at least one of the good ones, and I hope I didn't miss the boat on that one, pun intended. At any rate, I'm the Cinema Ranger, and I hope our paths cross someday.